wild is not place, it's a state of mind. These words perfectly define the life and work of the incredible storyteller, conservationist Arefa Tehsin. She grew up in jungles of Udaipur, surrounded by nature where tigers roamed and stories came to life. Her debut adult novel, The Witch in the Peepal Tree, is a murder mystery set in 1950s Udaipur, was super shortlisted for the Asia Prize of Fiction 2023. Wild in the Backyard. Her picture book, The Elephant Bird, was read at 3,200 plus locations across India, from slums to Presidential Library on International Literacy Day 2016, and has been translated over 35 languages. Her journey is nothing short of inspiring, and we are eager to hear to her thoughts today.
So we don't think that we are harming the wild or animal by having that cup of coffee, but you have no idea the magnitude of harm that is done by just building one highway. And the biggest enemy of rat was snake. In fact, the atta that you eat, you have atta, you have roti?
I do.
There is an accepted percentage of rat shit in it. Even by the FDA in the US, because you cannot get rid of rats from the storehouse.
Hello, ma'am. Hi.
Hello, Shrutika.
So yeah, we'll just start with the questions, and I would like to continue from the discussion that we had in the panel. It was like a really amazing session, I would say. Thank you so much for sharing like your insightful thoughts with us. So I'd like to start about the insights that you showed on storytelling, especially in the panel. Like how you said your storytelling started from childhood, you grow around wildlife, how your parents inspired you and everything. So what role do you believe that storytelling can play in inspiring like real change in conservation efforts, especially in this generation? Especially like right now, wildlife issues are being like overlooked, right? But by a lot of other issues going on in the country, especially like a country like India. And there are a lot of wildlife issues going on, starting from poaching to a lot of other things. So what do you think like right now, like how do you think storytelling can be a change to bring out these issues to light, and how can it make a change in this today's world, especially in a country like India?
Right. So Shrutika, every issue that we have, it's all interlinked.
Definitely.
We are very, very closely related to nature. Yeah. So when we say that, you know, we are so involved in other issues, we don't have any time for wildlife and nature, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
We might be the shortest lived species on earth from the time we evolved till the time we go, you know, out of our existence if we don't do something about it. And so everything is, as I said, especially in our subcontinent, we have had such a rich history of folk tales, of that Upanishad way of thinking, which I said, which believes that this is a multi-species universe. And humans are not at the center of it, they are one of the many. And we are forgetting it in our race to development and everything else. So it needs to be integrated, that old way of thinking, into our lives again. So that, you know, all the old stories that we have, we don't even need new stories. There are so many. When you look at our culture, the culture of a subcontinent, be it Vedas or Upanishads or anything else, or even people who came and settled here and slowly integrated into the culture, there always have been respect for nature. We give the first roti to a cow or to a crow. We actually, you know, all the gods that we have, gods and goddesses, they all are associated with one animal or the other. If you look at our folk tales and our myths, our mythologies, at every mythology, most of them, at the center of it, there is a forest. Be it Ramayana, be it Mahabharata, be it Krishna's Vrindavan. So there are forests, and so we need to reintegrate that into our lives, and we need to discover stories, we need to tell each other stories, we have to, you know, bring it all together, bring nature back into our lives. That is all that we need to do. So for instance, I walked into Alliance University and I felt so good. It is so different from the rest of Bangalore. Even the roads that we drove to Alliance University from the electronic city, the way there was garbage, you know, on both the sides, the plastic bags and all that, I think after a point of time we even stop looking at them. We get so desensitized that we are not realizing that this plastic or whatever that we are taking is as one of the many problems of India because of our population. We can't do anything about it. But all this is coming back to us. It is coming back on our table. The microplastic, everything. This is getting washed down to the rivers. This is getting into our fields where we grow our vegetables and crops, and this is coming. This is going in our body again. So we are talking about how the incidence of cancer is increasing, how other diseases are increasing. How are they increasing? So we need to tell stories about what is happening to humankind by ignoring nature and by exploiting it till kingdom come. We need to bring this discourse back in whatever way, and whatever way. And storytelling is one of the ways.
Yeah, that's very true, ma'am. So, since we talked about wildlife conservation and stuff, so recently there's been a lot of misconception about NGOs and wildlife conservation, especially in the south. When I traveled around, I found that there are a lot of NGOs and wildlife conservation centers opened especially for preserving animals. But then when they do it for public, it automatically turned commercialized, right? It becomes commercialized. And they start breeding animals just for it is called an NGO, but then there's a very back behind story going on, and there's a misconception with public. They just go on to pay to touch the wildlife, to feel the wildlife, but that's not the real meaning of wildlife, right? So what do you think about it? What is your view on the new measures that's been started, especially with human trying to interact with wildlife, the measures that's been taken, but then it's also being commercialized on the other end? What do you think about it? What's your point of view?
I don't know which NGOs particularly you are referring to are breeding animals or anything, but wild animals are bred in zoos world over because we have to save these wild animals from ourselves. So we are not talking about how many billions or billions of humans are breeding, and these animals are not left with any space to breed. So even if they are being bred somewhere, I have nothing against that, because unless they are being used for I don't know for illegal activities, that should not be the case. But otherwise, interacting with animals is one of the ways to get close to them, because most of the youth today, and even adults, everyone is away from wildlife and forests, and they are away from doing any good to them or any harm to them. They think that no, because we are not looking at the real issues of conservation. These are very small issues. NGOs opening up, some of them must be doing some good work. I don't know about all. There are definitely some, in fact, some of the biggest organizations, PETA for that example. What do you think they're doing? I read about it, and in the name of saving dogs and cats or whatever, they are, I'm not particularly speaking about one organizations, but many such are minting money because they are feeding on our guilty conscience that we are not doing enough for the wild. Actually, dogs and cats are not wildlife. They till the time humans are there, they will be there. We don't even look at animals that are going extinct without us knowing about it. We are drinking a cup of coffee. How many trees have been cut in the Amazon to clear Amazon? How many species are dependent there to, for this cultivation to happen? Many trees are cut down and coffee plantations are done, and then they come to us. And so we don't think that we are harming the wild or animal by having that cup of coffee, but you have no idea the magnitude of harm that is done by just building one highway, which we are very happily traveling on because we think that is development. But how many animals are buried alive in making of that one highway, alive with that hot cement that is put on them? Millions of them, insects and reptiles. And how many animals get killed by crossing these roads every year? So that is also in millions, uncountable. Because that is what my father used to say, and he still says, that if the insect blood was red and not white in color, our roads and our windscreens would be colored in red. So those are the things that we don't even talk of. We are nitpicking on small things, which kind of appeal to us, and which the mass media and everything has brought on to us, and that is what we understand and we know. But nobody is talking about the real issues of conservation. And conservation is not really just related to wildlife. It is to do with everything, even the air that we breathe. You know, that is, yeah.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. That was like a powerful message. In fact, like it started off with this very small talk, but then it just went on. You gave like a really powerful message. So yeah, you've written about the complex relationship between like human and wildlife, right? So could you share an example where like human and wildlife conflict has been like resolved in a way? And probably, and again, a question adjoining to that, can you share about one story of a species that you feel like deserves more attention in this public sphere, like right now in this moment? I know there are a lot, but then if you would like to address one. Yeah.
So there are, of course, I really can't think of one species particularly that has been the human and that species conflict has been solved, because most of the conflicts that I know, the human-animal conflicts are still ongoing. But one species that I would need the humans to think more kindly towards is snakes, because they are in our culture. They have always been worshipped. Why do we have Nag Panchami? Why do we go and just worship them one day in the year, and the rest of the year we are just killing them as soon as we sight one snake? But they are doing great service to humankind by eating rats. Why do you think we always have, if you look at the old movies, and you will see wherever there is a khazana, wherever there is a treasure, you will see find a few cobras there. Why? Because in the olden days, cobras, all these snakes were worshipped. In the olden days, the wealth of humans was measured only in two ways: by the amount of food grains that they had and the amount of cloth that they had. The biggest enemy of food grains and cloth was mice, was a rat. And the biggest enemy of rat was snake. Because snake is the only animal, there are other animals that actually feed on rats. Like there are owls and there are eagles, there are cats. But snake is the only animal that can go inside the burrow of a rat. And for that, the fear of snake always exists in the rat's mind, and it is always on the run, and that affects its reproduction power. Because the rats, my father had calculated, if you breed a pair of rats in ideal conditions for 1 year, by the end of the year you will have so many rats that if you keep them one above the other, the line will be from the earth to the moon.
Oh my God.
And rats are the ones that spread diseases. It is not snakes. You got the Black Plague, which 1/3 of Europe's population was wiped out, and that was because of rats. So, and the food grain destruction that rats do in India, it is on a very massive scale and all over the world. In fact, the atta that you eat, you have atta, you have roti.
I do.
There is an accepted percentage of rat shit in it, even by the FDA in the US, because you cannot get rid of rats from the storehouses and the storage. So anyway, I can keep talking about it, but I will end now. I know.
Once again, thank you so much, ma'am. I know it's been a very short conversation, but then it was a very insightful one, and looking forward to have more conversations like you, because we need more insightful information like this regarding wildlife, or probably storytelling, and how it interrelates and coincides with each other, going back to the past and connecting with everything. And thank you so much once again, and looking forward to have this conversation again with you, ma'am.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.